What's up, everybody? It's your girl Erica from the Classy Climb blog. Listen, if you don't know, I am author of the Smartphone Millionaire book, How to Invest in People, Businesses, and Real Estate from the palm of your hand. And my lovely co-host tonight is none other than Mr. Diamond Dave, coming out of good old Florida. He's coming out here to teach us what we need to know about this stock market. Because baby, it's doing all kinds of things. It's going up and down and sideways. But quick health, listen, you guys. I be on it. Juice Land, okay. I got blue dream shots. I got celery shots. Listen, your girl Erica's gonna live a long life, so a long one. All right. And now, shout a prayer out to everybody that's sick right now. We got a lot of people on YouTube sick, and I've been telling people you gotta have balance. You can't be on this thing having 5 to 6, 7, 8, 9 hours hangouts and cutting up all day. You gotta get out here and take a deep breath, move on, walk, get some balance out here. So I brought Diamond Dave because he is that educational balance in the stock market we need. Introduce yourself, Diamond Dave.
How you doing, Eric? I really appreciate you having me on the show. I want to reiterate what you also talked about. Make sure you balance out what you're doing. Go outside, get some fresh air, put your health first. And what we pretty much want to talk about is what's going on in the markets. Then you got some topics that you want to get into that I think going to be really, really interesting. My name is Diamond Dave, also known as David W. Williams, the founder of the highest paid part-time job in the world. And I think a lot of people that are on your channel have seen me before. I'm really glad to be back on here and to continue to add more value to the platform.
Fact. Listen, you guys, drop your city and state in the chat. We need your feedback. Have you been checking on the stock market? Have you been noticing what's been going on? I hope you have. At the end of the day, you guys, this is a big component. Now, maybe you say, well, Erica, the stock market's not really tied to our American society because it's going up, it's rallying, and people are suffering. Well, just like people in tech are getting all-time high payouts, people in trade, you can't even book an air-conditioned man to come out. You can't even book a plumber to come out. These people are busy and making money in this economy. The stock market is just like that as well. It's only 8,000 companies. If you know America has over 30 million businesses, 40 million really businesses out here, and only 8,000 on the stock market or so, you can do the math. It could be a very different outlook. So, Diamond Dave, in your course, you've taught a lot of people how to make, at least $2,000 a month, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And what happens is, I don't think people focus enough. I don't think they study enough. The economy, what's going on out here. So I put you together today because first thing people said, well, Erica, what about China's Evergrande? And what are some of your thoughts and feedback on that to kind of break down that situation for us?
Okay, so I have two perspectives on this, and I'm glad you brought it up because I was going to do an update on my video. I talked about how China and the Communist Party of China, how they kind of look at capitalism and finance and investing. With Evergrande, in my opinion, it was just the fact that they just got over leveraged. One of the reasons is because of massive expansion. So I heard from somebody that was talking about this particular issue. Their construction that they do in China, a lot of times when their economy would slow down, they would just do more construction and continue to build it out. So one of the bridges with Evergrande is I just think they got over leveraged and they couldn't, once the economy started to soften up or that, the real estate space started to soften, they couldn't meet their debt obligations. And so they just ran into a lot of problems. I think it was something that was a byproduct of overexpansion too fast and not a lot of regulation in that particular area. But what I think that the Communist Party of China is going to do is I think they're going to let Evergrande crash, and then they're going to come in with a lot of heavy-handed regulation because they're going to say, well, this is what happens when we let this system operate without, a very strict structure. So I think that what may be happening. So I think Evergrande eventually can potentially get out of this situation, but I just think it was a byproduct of them really accelerating that economy really, really rapidly, also construction, and not having any kind of regulation. And as a result, they just got over leveraged, and now it's something they got to deal with.
So this is something I tell people. There's 20% of our companies in America are zombie companies. They are literally just enough money to pay the debt. Now, here's something I was telling people. Now, people are like, well, Sears went away. Sears did not go away. Right. Sears purchased 250 service repair companies all across the United States. So even my washer and dryer messed up my washer machine did about a week ago. And I was like, well, who called this 1-800 number? And when I read the fine print, they picked it up and brought it back to me in 48 hours. They knocked that bad boy out quick. It was a Sears company. Once you read all the fine print and got all the way to the bottom, it was a Sears company. So Sears effectively, you don't see a store anymore for sure. You may not see a catalog anymore, but you got to realize a lot of these companies started out in big warehouses and shipping the stuff out. You literally, I worked at Borders, and Borders did that after Borders supposedly closed. They were an online website for a long time.
Yeah.
So a lot of these companies were over leveraged, and in America, they could just go buy somebody else's company. Now, a prime example of this is, I think, now this is a theory, Arby's buying Buffalo Wild Wings.
Okay.
Houseway. Arby's, we got the meat, but ain't nobody at any of the store. When I go, there ain't nobody at the store. Now, when I went to Utah and Idaho, I saw Arby's everywhere. So I was like, okay, maybe Arby's is living out here. But it ain't living nowhere. And nowhere in Texas do I see an Arby's thriving anywhere. So American companies have the opportunity to go buy up other companies and kind of be this giant monopoly, so that they never really go out of business. They have more money coming in and fusing into the overall company, right? But China is so rigid, and there's a lot of hoopla going on over there, right? That they don't have that same opportunity to just go buy up some other stuff and to satisfy their debt. But the guy was telling me, well, Erica, will they pause trading it? How can they do that? Is there ways that you can explain that, Namaste, how they can pause trading it?
Yeah, I mean, the exchanges can pause trading for any reason that they have already outlined. So it may be that the particular stock is too volatile. It drops, it goes up by a certain percentage in too short of amount of time. They may have particular issues with how it's being traded. And so a lot of the exchanges, and I found this out during the pandemic, is that with the New York Stock Exchange, is what we call a circuit breaker. Once the S&P fell by a certain percentage within a certain amount of time, they would not allow trading anymore. What they're trying to do is kind of let the emotion get out of the market, let that subside. And what they're also trying to do is not allow all the money to get pulled out of the market. So what we find is with a lot of exchanges, but China, which is their exchanges are very, very strict. They a lot of times will not allow certain things that happen on the exchanges, short selling, things of that nature, because they just have a lot of regulations. So they can halt trading pretty much anytime they want to, or based on any of the rules and regulations of terms of service that they've outlined before for that particular exchange. And it's something that you need to be aware of, because one of the biggest challenges of trading something and they halt it is when they restart it, you don't never know what price is going to restart at. So when I'm looking at companies and I see that they're being halted, I try to stay away from trading those, because if we're trading it during that session and they stop trading, when they start trading and resume it, because I'm so far away from the exchange, because I'm down in Florida, I'm not directly connected to the exchange, by the time I understand what data is being sent back to me from the exchanges, we could be $30 and $40 away from that last price that we were at. So that's something as a retail trader or retail, you got to kind of be wary of companies that are so volatile that they get stopped, because it could put you in a vulnerable position when they restart trading again.
Okay. And somebody in the chat said, well, they halt U.S. trading all the time. I think, when did they halt it? Was it AMC? When did they halt it?
They halt. Yeah, they halt specific tickers. What we saw during the pandemic was they halted the whole exchange. That's very rare.
Right.
So if we have a specific ticker, like when Kodak had that really strong run last year, after it came out that Trump was going to give them a deal to do manufacturing, it went up and they had to halt it because it was going up so fast. So we're talking about so we're talking about a $5 stock that opens up the next day at $30 and it starts moving up towards 60. So when you have that kind of volatility, but what we saw during the pandemic was they came in and stopped the whole exchange. So the New York Stock Exchange said, you know what, we're not going to allow any trading on the exchange, because they were worried about so much money leaving the exchange. So they will halt individualized tickers, but it's rare to halt the overall exchange. Yes, ma'am. So
to me, that doesn't mean it's a free market. Like if we ain't letting people just, I'm thinking trade in place in 1980s movie, right? If we can't let them get wild like that, then is it a zombie? Is it a legit, or is this the rule?
It's just the rules, because one of the things that the market, and we saw this is what I try to get people to really understand the market. What we saw during the pandemic is that they decided they're going to do anything and everything they can do to protect the market. So you don't ever have to worry about the market crashing to the floor, because they're not going to allow that to happen. So what we saw during the pandemic is as the market started to sell off and money started to leave, they instituted this, I believe, in the early 2000s or maybe the late 90s, is that we can just stop all trading activity. And what we will not allow you to do is pull all your money out of the market. So it's really not a free market. It's a regulated market. But the thing is, they will not allow an event to destroy the U.S. stock market. They just won't let it happen. So it doesn't matter how bad it gets, they will stop it. And what we saw during the pandemic, and I remember this, is that there was a 30 or 45-minute time period where they stopped the market 3 different times. Because what happened is every time they started it, money kept leaving. So it's really not a free, unregulated market. It's very regulated, but they do this because they're not going to allow any event to destroy the market.
Makes sense, makes sense. So if you guys can hear me, put a 1 in the comments. Someone said the mic is low. I've got the echo cancellation on, so if I need to turn that off, let me know. Put a 1 in the comments. And here's the mic by my mouth, so I don't know. Anyway, I'm just trying to make sure people are cautious. One, right? Because real traders make money whether the stock market is up or down. And you said something in one of your videos I thought was really good. Well, where they're just telling poor people, just put your money in the market and come back, years later, right? That's not a really viable option. And truthfully, people needing to know how to trade is a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm not a fan of telling working class and poor people that they should just take their money and sink it into the market and come back in 50 years. Because I don't really see that as a solution to their problem if their problem is income. And you also don't understand how the market works and how markets function, and we're in a market-based economy. So I think a lot of people are not been exposed to the results that they want out of life, whether it's going to be, I want more free time, I want to be income independent to where I'm not dependent upon a certain situation to make my money. I want to be able to make more money than what I'm currently making. Is that trading can be a good environment for them to go into. So a lot of the results that a lot of people think that they're going to get that is promoted to them on social media, being able to trade can get them that result, but they may not be exposed to it. Where just buying stocks and stocking them away, there's nothing wrong with that. But when you have an income scenario that you're dealing with on a week-to-week basis or every 2-week basis or a yearly basis, trying to build long-term wealth via the stock market is not, to me, not going to be a solution to that problem. You got to figure out how to get some more income coming in. And one of the ways in which you can get more income coming in is with trading. And also what trading does is it allows you to be location independent. You're not dependent upon a particular business or institution. They don't know what color you are on the other side of your brokerage account. So the whole world starts to open up to you and the ability to generate income for yourself that you can now utilize to go build wealth. And also, if you get around the right people in the right communities, you learn more how markets function. So you can go anywhere in the world and understand how to make money because you understand how markets actually function.
Part of why I love bringing you on is you talk about something that we should all be exposed to. Because I sat and did a winery kind of remote work day today, and we were talking about people making $200,000 a year, $300,000 a year working in tech sales, people that we knew were in the stock market, people we know were day traders. And you'll talk to everyday people, and they're like, what? Never heard of that. And we were both laughing because it's so common that, we met this guy and he was saying something, and we're like, yeah, we know. We guessed about how much number, you're not off. You got to prove it to us. What can we do to show people, to expose more people to at least learning, hey, this phone is powerful. You can start a business with it. You can trade with it. You can educate yourself on it. I feel like Robinhood made trading cool, but what more do we need to do?
We just got to be consistent with the messaging, because one of the things that I was not aware of, I had an uncle at a family event in probably 08, 09 tell me about options, but he never really expanded. I didn't know anything about it. And so what we got to do is that we just have to continue to get the message out and be consistent with the messaging and get people to understand that the life that they're really trying to get, they can get through the financial markets and understanding how to trade, understanding things like tech, understanding really things like sales. Because like I said, is that a lot of the results that people think they won't get them through a lot of the mainstream occupations. They're just not designed that way. They're designed to keep you fixed in one place. They're designed to control a lot of your time, things of that nature. The freedom that you really want, you can get from some of these alternatives, but you just got to be exposed to it. And you really got to be willing to do the work to become very successful at it. But it's not anything that's over your head. You have the ability, but you mostly have not been exposed to it. And it's not a get rich overnight or get the success overnight. You got to be willing to just be consistent with it till you get the results that you say you desire.
The funny thing is, I think the money message is slightly coming through for folks, because there's a young lady, she talks about, investing for your future and putting this money away. And her and all the people on this panel were all like, yeah, you got to put like $15,000 to $30,000 away a year. And I was thinking to myself, honey, that literally was how much some people are making a year. So what you're talking about is, first, we got to make more income. to even have 15 to 30 grand to set aside, right? That's why whenever I meet people who are in tech, it never surprises me they take 6 months off or a year off from a job, or if they have investments. I'm like, you make such a high income in comparative to society. Like, there's no reason. That's just on you, right? But part of what I'm kind of afraid of is one trick pony, right? We want people to learn how to trade in the stock market. How do we get them like deeper knowledge? How do we get them to have interest? Because to me, AMC felt like that. Like, oh, like, how do I, like, why are they betting against it, right? People really had a strong interest to really study and get in these forums and educate themselves. How can we get that on a bigger level for folks?
I just think once again, it's going to be consistency and kind of attaching what people want to this particular event in the market. So with that AMC and with that GameStop play, if you kind of understood that play with a small amount of capital, you pretty much could have made your year. And I've known people that did that, right? So because they already understood how the markets function, they were able to pretty much make their year off that one individual play. Now, that doesn't happen every day. But once you have the education, you're set up to be able to capitalize on those particular type of scenarios. The same way if you understand the real estate market, when you're going to have certain events happen in the real estate economy, you can capitalize on it. So I just think it's going to be about consistency, getting the exposure, but getting our people to really understand that we can operate in these spaces and be successful. We produce everything in this country. We produce astronauts. We produce scientists. We produce pretty much everything area. We can get into this particular area and stop believing that people in Wall Street are above our head or they're so much more intelligent than us, because there's other communities in this country where they've realized that we essentially have the same information that everybody else has. If we're willing to do the study and do the due diligence and form groups around what we're trying to do, we can be successful. And that's pretty much what you've seen with this AMC and GME plays.
So part of what I was really like, I have a friend and all they do is, and I've explained this to the class in here, but I know people, it's going to go people say it, so I'm okay. He's like, you got to find stocks that move $1 a day, right? Yeah. More than that, but in general. And I was just like, okay, which you can learn in Terry's class, you can learn all your classes. But essentially he was like, oh yeah, I took this money from my retirement account. And I was right at about 25,000, so I didn't get a trouble for day trading. He literally was following Gutierrez, Ricky Gutierrez. Yeah. And he literally was like, here, it moved a couple dollars, sold, swing trade. Yep. And so every time he was getting about, I don't know, 2 to 3 grand, about two grand off moving that money. And all he was doing was setting up stop loss, purchase, you know what I mean? And I laughed because I'm like, that dude did that every week. That's all he did. It's like, and he never learned more. He just was looking for, okay, I just got my stocks that move $1 a day, and that's a good company. And it was so funny to me, but he had found this one trick pony, and he's still here in Austin. But I always thought that was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life, because it's like, y'all, that's not even hard, right? Like, that's not even, I don't know how to explain it in a better way, but that's not even hard, right? So, let me see here. What does Diamond Dave think about QE and repos? Because I want to ask you about Janet Yellen, what you think on that, but we'll read this question. Its effects on the stock market. Every time the Fed talks about tapering back QE, the market sells. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and I appreciate the question, S400. There's a lot of S's on YouTube. I don't know if they're like a family or a group or whatever, but I appreciate the question. So I think quantitative easing is a function of the market. I don't think we can get around it if we want to continue the kind of lifestyle and the kind of market that we currently have today. So I think if we contract liquidity, there's going to be repercussions. There's going to be trade-offs of that. If we continue to expand liquidity, there's going to be trade-offs to that. So what I think we got to try to ask ourselves is that are we cool with the trade-offs of quantitative easing, and also understand that there's got to be limits to it. Same thing with repos, or what people call the reverse repo market. I don't think that it has a detrimental effect to the stock market, because we needed the liquidity, and we need liquidity in this particular system that we exist in, because it's the liquidity that provides the lifestyle that we currently enjoy. So we just got to ask ourselves, are we cool with the trade-offs of every scenario, whether we're pro or con? I think a lot of times we look at economic situations as binary. They're not. They're kind of like trade-offs. So if I don't work out, that's going to be the trade-offs. If I do work out, these are going to be trade-offs. You can get hurt working out, but you also can get in really good shape. Then if you don't work out, it's detrimental to your health, right? But then also you don't have to risk getting hurt. So you just got to figure out what are the trade-offs that you want to engage in But on the face value, I don't have an issue with quantitative easing. I don't have issue with repos. But like I said, there have to be limits to it. And of course, every time the Fed talks about tapering back on quantitative easing, the markets fail. Why? Because everybody's living off liquidity. So once you have an environment where everybody is operating off the fact that we have access to a lot of liquidity, you're going to get a reaction when people think liquidity is going to drive up. But the question I would ask people, do you want to live in a world where we lack the liquidity? Because you can go to other parts of the world and you can see where they have a lack of liquidity. That's one of the biggest issues in the continent of Africa is a lack of liquidity financially. If you go to those places in the world and you want to get liquidity, but you can't get it, do you enjoy that? And if you enjoy it, then that would be a good place for you to operate. But in America, one of the things that we like is liquidity. We like access to capital. We like easy access to capital. And we like access to a lot of capital because that's what's propelling our economy forward. But that's a great question.
It was a good question. What do you think of Janet Yellen? October 18th, we don't, like, Yellen, if you don't chill out, chief, what you doing? Like, I don't know if she's trying to scare the Congress into moving faster or what you think that's about.
I mean, I think she's trying to make sure that they get what they need to get to make sure the government stays, quote unquote, financed. Mm-hmm. And this is something that happens, every time this particular issue comes up. I think the Republicans are trying to kind of figure out how can it make it look like we're not 100% going along with it. But I think eventually we'll have to go along with it because we don't want to total government. They don't need them. Yeah, I feel you.
Here's the problem with this whole scenario.
Okay.
They can pass every bill right now without any Republican voting.
You're right.
That's why I'm like, this is such a game. They're not enough Republicans to have a challenge.
They have to stop it too. But they got to make it look like it's a balance, it's a tug of war. Mm-hmm. Because that's essentially what we're looking at. And the same thing with the Republicans got to make it look like, well, we're involved in this particular process, but we don't want to make it seem like we're going 100% forward because they got to report back to their constituency. Because I think that's
what to me is so crazy because it's like, I feel like it's a pork move, right? Like, hey, y'all, I played ball on that last thing. Come on. And it's like, we don't even need you. Like, and I feel like that's a black people play too. Like, black people like, what happened to reparations talk? Oh, we ain't got the votes. How? Y'all majority in the House and the Senate.
I agree. I agree. But we don't have the political power to force them to give it to us. So then they'll stonewall us and say, well, we don't have the votes to get it, but they do. But we don't have the political power to force them. But it's the political game. I mean, everybody's playing because what we're seeing right now is that people are playing towards the midterms. Yep. So they're trying to figure out how can I make it look good for the midterms. And what they're kind of trying to do is make sure they can take back some of those seats. So they don't want to make it seem like they went along with something. They were in opposition to it. So they got something to campaign on for the midterms. But I don't think it's going to be an issue. But we got to just kind of wait to see where it's going to go. But I don't think that I think essentially everybody's going to go along with it because what I don't think anybody wants is the impact on the economy if we don't get that pushed through.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
Part of another thing I want to bring up to you is Tesla. I'm actually thinking of investing heavy in Tesla now because Tesla, they have this chip shortage. Their engineers just sat down and figured out some way to get around it and reprogrammed all the cars. And they keep on going on about their day. And so to me, to have Ford, GMC, and all these really big guys come out, we just can't do nothing. Ain't nothing we can do. And Tesla got a bunch of nerds over there just, all right, we figured it out. There's no way. How is that possible?
I mean, if they really do have a solution, I think that's very bullish on them. Mm-hmm. But we got to figure out because one of their biggest challenges was that a lot of the legislation for the EV, they were kind of upset that they felt like they were somewhat cut out of that. It was going to a lot of traditional car makers. Yeah. But if they really do have a solution to this chip shortage, it can put them in the driver's seat as far as being able to continue to manufacture while everybody else has constrained manufacturing. So I would do some more investigating to find out, do they really have it? Because one thing about Musk, and I'm not saying that he's behind this particular report, but he makes a lot of ambitious, forward-thinking statements that necessarily don't have hard timetables. So we got to find out, do they really have a solution to it? What is a solution? And then do they have the ability to scale it across all their manufacturing?
I got to find the article again, but it basically was like, oh yeah, we figured out a new, it was basically, let me see. So inside It's in one of them, not all of them.
Okay.
Inside, they're telling for Q2. What happened is they came. Let me see if I find it. Hold on a second. I'll pull it over here. I'm sure it's the screen with you.
Okay.
And you know, I'm hearing off the they're like, you see how smart that man is? He done figured it out. Okay. Not realizing he. Okay, so down here it says what they did. Oh no, the right one. Oh no, it might not be the right one. Hold on, this might be it.
Okay, final chips.
This might be the right one. So this is called InsideEVs.com. This whole website is talking about that. They made a series of new in-house chips. The team demonstrated an unparalleled ability to react quickly and mitigate disruptions by basically creating something. It's called some kind of vertical integration. It's in here somewhere. Hold on a second. I hate it when you know you want to sell somebody something, you don't forgot it. Anyway, it's in this article. I'll put it in the chat for you guys. But long story short, they took supplies from one thing to another, and then they also reprogrammed one of the series of cars, and it kept on. They didn't have like everybody else was having a hard time Q2, and they just were on schedule with everything. So
yeah, that's a good deal. That's a good deal for them because they may have a solution to it, and that'll give them an advantage because everybody else is cutting back on manufacturing because of chip issues, and this chip issues I think is going to last a little bit longer than what people think. We also have the implication of if there's issues between China and Taiwan, that can also cause more chip shortages.
They said Tesla's not getting the extra tax credit because they don't use units.
Okay, that's what it was.
That could be what it was.
Yeah, that's what it was. I knew it was. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, they have a software solution, SSD. Okay.
All right, good post, Mr. Karinga.
Yeah, I tried to order the car, and the car was like November 4th. I was like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. And that was 2 months ago. So.
They supposed to already by now have the 2022 models on the lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I haven't seen them over here, but overall, I know they're somewhere out here. Because every time I want to order something, they'd be like, you can get it from California. I'll be like, no, why can't I get something right here in Texas? They ain't finished. They come trying to sell a wolf ticket.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, I hope they are, but we'll see. Because if they go after Taiwan, it's going to sink. I think it's TSM.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So another thing about like it being a zombie, how can now prime example what I'm thinking of is some of the companies that are public as far as like farm parts, farm tractors, you know what I'm saying, like Caterpillar, all those companies. Are those companies going to see a real big hit if we have a crash, quotation marks? Because if we've got this infrastructure bill going through, computer got it out. We got this infrastructure bill going through, and we're supposedly getting all these contracts for these government repairs. You know, what happens to those companies on the stock market? Shouldn't infrastructure companies make it? Or things that apply to the infrastructure bill make it?
Okay, so repeat the question for me, please. Okay,
so you have like Caterpillar, you have tractor companies, you have a lot of companies that are on the stock market. I'll pull up a website. If we have an infrastructure bill that's going through, and we have a crash, are those stocks also going to crash? Or would things tied to the infrastructure bill hold steady?
It would depend on how widespread the crash is and what if it was an overall market crash or particular sectors. So what I would look for is, you know, is it going to be an overall market crash, the whole market going to go under, or do we think it's just going to affect certain sectors? And then if it just affects certain sectors, do we think these particular agricultural kind of based companies like Caterpillar, John Deere, things of that nature, are they going to be as affected by this particular crash or contraction or correction, like some people like to call it. There may be other companies. So what we saw during the pandemic was we saw like an overall market crash. What we saw during when the 10-year Treasury bond kind of jumped up in February or March of last year, we saw it hit more growth or more tech. So we got to kind of look at, I think the infrastructure bill can support some of those companies, but the problem with the infrastructure bill is it's going to be more of a drip. So they're not going to kind of really throw all that money into the economy at one time. It's normally going to be more of a long-term investment. So they'll benefit from it, but it also at what particular, how much of the benefit will they get individually as a specific companies or maybe that sector, but also understand a lot of times with these infrastructure bills, these large bills, the money drips to them over a certain amount of time as opposed to getting sent to them all at one time.
So this was the Kipling.com.
Okay.
Investing stocks. It says best infrastructure stocks for Biden's spending plan. Vulcan Materials. I ain't never heard of them in my life. Hold on.
Yeah.
It says Martin Materials. I ain't never.
Yeah,
these are companies I ain't never heard of, right?
Yeah, they used to be a defense contract at one time.
Vail. Right.
Yeah,
so Vail first and foremost a miner of iron ore, essentially 3-horse race between BHP Group and Rio, largest ore miner in the world. It's also got copper, silver, gold, other metals. Nucor, never heard of that. Iron is primarily used for steel. So if you're bullish on iron, producer like Vail, you may be bullish on steel as well. Caterpillar, right?
Caterpillar.
Caterpillar is the easiest one because I can think of, right? Deere, of course, John Deere.
Yeah.
United Rentals, which is interesting. That they have a whole company that's just made all this money up to just have a rental equipment. ChargePoint Holdings.
Yeah.
Thoughts on them?
Yeah.
That's why we make our own.
Yeah, because we're already seeing charges in my city that I live in.
Mm-hmm.
They're not ChargePoint, but we're already seeing that particular move because, like we said before, we're going to push out this EV. We got to build our infrastructure.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Then they have Oshkosh. Another major green plank for Biden was electrification of federal vehicle fleet, including trucks used by the United States Postal Service. I'm trying to figure out why they're using this picture though. Okay?
Yeah, that's a weird
they
picture.
Said they won the contract to produce 165,000 new mail trucks. Interesting. And guess what? Look at there. Look. Just note there might be a little controversy here. Electric vehicle maker Workhorse Group is contesting the contract in court. Isn't Workhorse we talked about them?
Yeah. Because the problem with Workhorse is their whole value proposition was based on the fact that they were going to get that contract.
Oh.
So now that they didn't get the contract, they really don't have a valuation anymore. So the only thing, so now they got to try to protest it in court. But the problem is that, well, what if you don't win? Then you don't have a valuation anymore. So those was one of those IPOs I was telling people, you really don't have a business. It's kind of an idea. And now that they didn't get this particular contract for the United States Postal Service, where's the business?
Gotcha. Okay, so this is
FCX.
Yeah,
I know about them.
FCX.
Yeah.
I traded them. It's a critical commodity.
Yeah, I traded them before.
Okay, and then we got Brookfield Infrastructure Corporation. Okay. They made sure they got in that deal. Okay. They're like, it's in our name. It's one of the largest diversified infrastructure stocks in the world, with operations spanning utilities, transportation, energy, and even data infrastructure. So is it like an ETF or it just like got everything?
I would have to look into it to figure out, is it just a company that has like a lot of subsidiaries?
Mm-hmm.
Or are they just like you said, an ETF comprised of different individualized companies?
Right. They basically said they strive to be shareholder friendly. It targets a long-term return on equity at 12 to 15% and annual dividend growth of 5 to 9%, well ahead of the rate of inflation. It's not a pure play on American infrastructure by any stretch of the imagination. Its operations are global, but a rising tide lifts all boats. A major jump in infrastructure spending in the United States should cause a boom in infrastructure assets across the globe. I don't know about that. China. Crown Castle International. This one has
So it's a broadband. So what is it, like a 5G company?
Yeah, they're one of America's leading, not the largest, but leading wireless power real estate investment trusts. They're a REIT. They own over 40,000 cell towers and 80,000 road miles of fiber supporting 80,000 small cells.
Okay.
That's interesting. Mobile data usage will continue to grow at a blistering rate, of course. Yeah, I'd like to look at that. It's kind of what they get back on that $1.99. Sorry, y'all. The rabbit hole is strong. I'll be like, what's that?
That's cool.
Okay.
Crown Castle. It's at 174.
Let's go for 3 months. The guy's going down.
Yeah, they've been selling off, but they might have been. A lot of companies got overvalued because of last year, so you've seen a lot of sell off.
Look at this. Look at this. So they were up here. They were at 202.
Yeah.
In summer. So let's go 1 year. Ooh, interesting. So yeah, they were top. They were low.
Yeah.
Of course, March. Interesting. Let's go 5 years. Wow. Look at that.
So they're moving up.
Mm-hmm. Dividends is 3%, which isn't sexy, but it's enough. Okay, learn something new every day, y'all. You don't even know. Okay. Last two, Eaton. It says another broad play boom for green-focused infrastructure spending. Eaton is still not a pure play on green energy, but it is a major supplier of electrical components and systems, which is an important part of the story. Wind and solar farms have been integrated into the national grid, and that's exactly what Eaton does. They are a power management company.
Okay,
in between 2013 and 2019, Eaton stock price essentially went nowhere. But as plays on green energy started to heat up 2020, the share price followed. Okay, and then Global ex-US Infrastructure Development ETF.
Yeah.
Okay, that one's at $25.43. That's an easy one, y'all. If you're looking for a single one-stop shop, here you go.
Yeah.
It says it roughly holds 100 infrastructure stocks. Good gracious. With top 10 holdings, 4 names are listed: BE, BMC, NU, and ETN, and a sports tolerable expense rate of whatever. Cable is a large. They got a bunch in here, y'all. 100 stocks. That's just everybody. They do everybody in there.
Yeah, they just But sometimes it's better to play it as an ETF than as an individual company.
Okay, so let's have this one. See what this is here. Let's go for the 5 year. Woo! Y'all, I don't know what these things are doing. This is like a crack right here. It's crack. Crackhead move. Dividends 1.36. Not crazy. Okay. So that's just. I always try to give y'all a little value. Pick a little stock. Y'all be having 57 questions. Right here. Okay, your questions. Okay. You said you're right. But also remember, a lot of baby boomers are retiring and taking their Social Security benefits, and Congress has been taking funds out to pay other parts of government.
Yeah. I mean, they'll just create some more money. I mean, that's essentially what they're going to do. They just create some more money.
Yeah, this is true. You're going to pay. America going to make you pay, baby. I remember a guy was on HTV International House Hunters, and he was so excited to move. And then he was leaving England. They hit him with the Hemi Hawk. And so at the end of the show, he didn't even buy his house because he couldn't. He had to get an apartment. He was like, they took a big chunk of my money. I'm like, oh, you should know that. Said they don't have a lot of shovel-ready projects. I don't know. Listen, this is what I want to explain to y'all. And I said it before on another channel. When people say, oh, there's money out there, there's already associations, nonprofits, cities, lobbyists lined up. There's shovel-ready projects. Trust me, they'll find them. They will find them. Just like whenever they say, like the black women, they got all this money for black women, or when I showed y'all that just nonprofit, one of y'all in here called, and they were like, who referred you? I said, girl, I didn't even know. I didn't know you needed a referral. But those associations are already locking up. That's why I'm big on, everybody wants to do things like a lone wolf, but that's not how real business or life works.
Yeah.
All this money gets shaken down through groups.
Exactly.
You're not in a group, and I think you did one of your Laws of Power series where you're talking about people in the mob or something, hierarchies and groups, right? That's just the truth.
Yeah.
The money gets shaken down through these groups first.
Yeah. And that's 100%. One of the things is that we don't necessarily understand is that they create these projects so they can give money to groups that have already supported them in the past, or groups that they want to support them in the future. So you're right, is that every day there's groups on Capitol Hill trying to figure out how they can get access to money that has essentially been created by the taxpayers, or if it's been created out of thin air that the taxpayers are going to be responsible for. So that's something that we got to really look at, is that how can we as a group get access to some of this funding that's going to be utilized, because either it's already been taken from the taxpayer is going to be responsible for it either way. But one of the things I want people to understand is that one of the, not the easiest ways, but one way to become wealthy in this country is to tap into government money. As a guy in Atlanta that was able to tap into government money, a black dude, did really, really well for his family. They did the construction on the airport. They also did some other construction projects in the city of Atlanta, but it was all from government money. So I think we need to really understand how group power works, especially from an economic standpoint, and how forming a group you can get access to that money. They really will not give it to you as an individual person.
Yeah. Because people, listen, like I said about YouTube, I know YouTubers who have staffs of 10 to 20 people.
Yeah.
And all night long, all day long, all they're doing is cleaning up the descriptions, cleaning up the tags, cleaning up the thumbnails, making new videos, helping chop the videos up, change the graphics. They got full-time people 24/7 marketing to sponsors. So when people sit on here and go, well, my video only did this, I'm like, you're doing great, right? And there's something I always want people to understand. If your video gets 1,000 views, you're in the top 10% of YouTube.
Yeah.
You ain't Graham Stephan, but you're the top 10% because 90% of all videos on this platform get less than 1,000 views. So I want you to kind of like just be kind of like step back a little bit and analyze, 1,000 people are watching you, great. How can you serve them? So somebody asked me to look at ChargePoint. This is ChargePoint right here.
Yeah.
This is their year to date. Now this is their 5-year right here. So, whoo, what you think about that down there?
Okay, you can do the share the screen.
Oh, my bad.
Are you all right? Wow. Okay.
That's 5 years.
Thank you.
I was like, let me make it. Hold on. Show you go.
And they're back down to $17.92.
Mm-hmm. They were all the way up to $46.20.
Yeah.
December 21st, 2020. So this is the year to date. Got some big red right there. Wonder what happened on this thing.
I would, I would do a lot of research on this company, try to figure out how long I want to stay in the deal. Because I don't know where it's at before it started moving up aggressively, but it's almost there again. Mm-hmm. So I kind of asked myself, what do I think the long-term prognosis of this? Listen to some earnings calls, figure out where is the CEO or the board taking this particular company. Because what we see is that it topped off around $40. Then the market decided that it no longer believed in that price point. And then we seen it rejecting again around 35 again for whatever reason. And it continued just to slide on down.
Yeah.
And so we got to ask ourselves, how come the market is rejecting this price at anything above 50 and then also rejected it at 37, even though a lot of people believe in the future growth of this particular company? So is this a $25 stock until proven otherwise, if we're lucky? Because right now it's trading at $17.92.
Yeah, it's up. Come on, baby. So, when y'all request, I try to read your request with you. Interesting, yep.
Okay.
Well, this is the thing, DJ. We literally, I had on, brain is on. I had on old boy yesterday. We were talking about how their banks are projecting 100,000 closings. Like they're going straight to tech. They don't need the teller anymore. They're trying to listen, let's just go there. They're tired of y'all getting lawsuits for saying they're doing some racism, okay? You come in there, they don't cash a check or something crazy happens, they get tons of lawsuits. Well, they take the people out of it. Now it's just a computer algorithm deciding your fate, not a person. It could be better, could not be better.
And DJ Crown, what do you mean by running higher? Control 60% of the EV charging ports in the United States. So S400, that's a good number. But the question is, can they maintain that 60% ratio? So as we start to build more charging infrastructure, they're going to be able to maintain that 60%, or they're going to lose that size of the market, because we currently right now don't have a lot of charging infrastructure.
And also Tesla reroutes the vehicles to their charging station.
Okay.
So are you going to be able to get your charging station? Is Tesla going to let them have a map to that one? I don't know. Yeah,
exactly. And do they white label charging stations? Because the charging stations in my area, they don't say ChargePoint. So this ChargePoint white label, or are there other charging stations being built? Because if they control 60% currently, but we don't have a lot. As we continue to expand charging infrastructure, how will they maintain their size of the market? Because when we're looking at companies, what happens is competition starts to make the market, the piece of the pie, smaller and smaller. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, unless they have a lobby to lock everybody else out of the market.
There you go. I'm about to type in the ChargePoint white label.
Yeah, do they white label?
ChargePoint charging station. Cost. Installation cost. I don't know if the installation cost. Because I thought about getting one at my, I'm going to just say it like this. The U-Haul location I'm getting, oh wait, y'all can't see my screen. Hold on. I was like, how do we bring traffic over here and also have a food truck and all this other stuff? This is, what I'm saying? I just want to tell y'all, I'll be thinking ahead. Your girl be thinking like 10 steps. All right, so this is $7,000 to get the charge station.
Okay.
So, and these are different ones. These are all different ones. Let me see. Wow, that's not even as simple at all. Let's see over here. Let's go this way. 12 best charger installations. EV station install. Get a free quote. Under the program, business owners can pay as little as $3 to $6 per day to lease a charging station operated by ChargePoint. Bing, bing, bing. That normally costs about $6,000 to install or $12,000 per charging. Interesting. I mean, how do I make money off of it though? You know what I'm saying? That's part of the thought.
You got it. Yeah. Can you turn around and charge for use if you do that? Yeah. That's the thing.
I don't know. They don't have that's something I want to look a little bit more into, because I noticed a lot of the malls here have started doing it towards the front door, taking those park spaces away. But what's going to happen? You're going to charge your car and sit in your car for 50 minutes now. You're going to walk into the mall.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're going to go over there. With a free ChargePoint account, you can easily find stations and start charging everywhere you go. Set up notifications and reminders. To set up a free account, how do they pay? How do they make money off this? That's my whole thing. That's my whole thing. I'm like, how do they make money off of that?
They must charge. You think they must be charging like a use fee?
Mm-hmm.
Because I know they're not like Coca-Cola, where they're just doing it for marketing purposes.
ChargePoint charging stations, how make money?
Yeah, or maybe like ChargePoint business model.
ChargePoint makes money mainly from commercial customers such as offices and stores that installs this charger to attract businesses to provide a perk for their customers.
Okay. So what do they do? They charge the commercial operation to bring it there to install it. And what they do, probably have a service agreement?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Let's see. Is EV charging business profitable? I'd like to research this, but yeah. Will ChargePoint be profitable? ChargePoint current market leader by revenue. Okay. Can you look? People have been looking this up. That's how it's coming up so fast. All right. Can you make money with electricity charging stations? While electricity costs vary, the average cost of electricity in California is about blah blah blah. Earners can earn money by sharing their home charger point with other hosts to find convenient charge. That'd be interesting. Yeah, y'all got me thinking. I'm like, how much can we charge for that? Do they have to come and buy a snack? Do they have to do something? It's just interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Because at some point, you know, it's got to be more than, hey, more customers are going to come to your place. It's got to be more than that. Should you invest 1,000 in ChargePoint right now? Anyway. So yeah, makes sense. I mean, you really gotta notify people it's there. Huh, that's interesting. So learn something new every day, y'all. Let me see. Oh, no worries. Thank you for supporting the channel, though. I mean, I just ignore it sometimes. Let me see. You see that right there?
Okay. Banks them up and moving into earnings mid-month. Okay, that's good. Let's see what their earnings look like.
He said WFP, JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America ran higher on the close of news that the volatility might be raised. What about the VIX? Yeah.
So Wells Fargo, JP Morgan, Bank of America run higher. The debt ceiling might be raised. Yeah, I mean, I don't think the debt ceiling is not going to get raised. I just think, like I said, they're using it as a political football. You know, I don't think they want the government to shut down. I think we have to raise the debt ceiling just as a function of our society. But, you know, it creates some volatility in the market. It gives them something to talk about. I don't think we're not going to raise the debt ceiling. What else are we going to do if we don't do it? So we've got to kind of identify that. I think the biggest issue with the banks is, you know, when the monetary policy is going to start tightening up. You know, because then that's eventually going to affect other markets, real estate market, things of that nature, are going to get that overflow from that. That's what I'm looking at. And we'll kind of see that probably looking at maybe top of the year when they start tightening up that monetary policy, because the banks have pretty much been operating, you know, with free reign since pretty much the pandemic.
I know everybody keeps talking about the charge stations. Yeah. They said ChargePoint has more stations in Europe. I believe that.
Okay. I believe that.
Said it may be $30 soon. It's a good short-term hold, 1 to 3 years.
All right. But just Fatima, why did it fall from 40? And what do you think moves it up to 30? So how come it couldn't hold those higher prices? Why did it reject like 45, and then why did it reject 37 again? And then what do you think gets it back up to 30? Because it's right now trading at around $17. So you think it's going to be like a really, really good earnings, or the market is going to start really favoring that particular company?
What's the VIX signal sign?
We call the VIX the fear index. It kind of, I wouldn't say it gauges, but it kind of is a reflection of uncertainty in the market. And a lot of times as a trader, what you see as options is as the VIX starts to go up, premiums start to become more expensive because of volatility in the market. So we want the VIX to be suppressed, not moving up. Because if you look at times where there's a lot of uncertainty in the market, the VIX starts to spike. So we call it the fear index, but it's really not the fear index, but it kind of shows, you know, kind of people's apprehension or anxiety about the market, and also its volatility.
All right, Diamond Dave, now tell them, you know, what's the game plan? Oh, look at May 5 agreed they're going to keep raising this interest.
Yeah, I mean,
May 5,
yeah.
May 5, and you do a great job of breaking down how things work. So.
Yeah, I appreciate it, May 5. Yeah, I mean, May 5, I would just act like, I don't understand what else can we do except raise the debt ceiling. So it creates a political football and gives them something to talk about. But I don't think they're going to, well, we're not going to raise the debt ceiling. Okay, if we don't raise the debt ceiling, then how do we operate the actual government? How do we operate the economy? So I just don't see what else they're going to do. But based on the way the currency system and based on our economy is set up, we got to just keep the ball rolling because that's the function of our system. So I don't know what else they would do. So they could stagnate it for a little bit, but eventually they're going to have to just.
Remember last time they shut down, them women was out there baking cakes, selling cheesecakes.
that was when they had laid off all those federal workers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Yeah. So but eventually they had to get everybody, had to get everything back going. And I don't think they have an appetite to do that now, because of what's going on in the world, as far as us trying to come in going into like a recovery stage. I don't think anybody wants that kind of volatility right now in the economy, because what we're really trying to do is get everything back on track. That's just my personal opinion.
So Michelle Green said, what does Dave think about retail stock Q4?
And I'll probably do a video on this. What you got to ask yourself is how supply chain issues are going to affect earnings, and also, do companies have the ability to utilize pricing power? And what I mean by pricing power is that as you raise the price of your particular product, does your consumer want to or does not want to buy that product anymore? They start looking for substitutes, things of that nature. So we're looking at these supply chain issues, the fact that a lot of these particular businesses that sell manufactured goods, they can't necessarily get the goods to sell. How is that going to affect their earnings? And then also, do they have pricing power to where the goods are going to be more expensive? Because I heard they actually ship now is crazy. Shipping rates are outrageous now. So it costs more money to get the actual products to you. Some companies are eating those particular costs, so they don't have to pass them on to their customer because they don't believe that they have pricing power. If that continues to remain, they're going to have to eventually pass it on to the customer. Then if you don't have pricing power, you're going to lose those particular sales because the customer's not going to be willing to pay it. So what we're going to look for in the fourth quarter, but also in the going into next year, is have companies figured out a solution to that problem, or are they just going to pass those costs on to their customers and tell the customer, you just got to deal with it? And one of the problems is that people are going to have dealing with it is because of inflation. Their buying power is going to be less than what it was, so that they're going to kind of be caught in the middle.
Well, you see how people been freaking out about Dollar Tree.
Yeah.
Up in there, I'm like, y'all, stop it. Stop it. Like, chill out. Stop it. Michelle Green said, I read that big stores are buying their own shit to get products for the holidays. I mean, again, this is why we need to just make things in America. I mean, it keeps going around a circular argument, but that's why a lot of manufacturing in Dallas is so robust, because they do need these things locally. So, tell me, Dave, tell them where they can learn how to make money, whether the stock market goes up or down from you, sir.
You can go to www.thehighestpaid.online. It's an online course really based around teaching you how to get the results that you want to get out of life by utilizing and leveraging the options market. And our ideal customer is somebody that is dissatisfied with the money they make from their 9 to 5. They don't like the fact that they got to steal a lot of time away from their family to make the money that they're currently making. And they don't like the fact that there's a cap on their income. What I mean by that is that at the beginning of the year, you know you're going to make $30,000, and no matter how much work you do in that job, you still going to make $30,000. So what I really want to tell you, no matter how hard or how many hours you put in, you pretty much going to make around $30,000. What I really want to get you to understand is that the most valuable thing you have in life is time. And I think a lot of us start to understand that as we get older, we start losing people in our family. The most valuable thing is the time. And so if you can understand how to make money and keep your time and also get rid of that income cap and also be location independent to where no matter where I go in the country, I can still make money. Even if I got to deal with a time change, I can still make money. You start to realize I can really go enjoy the life that I desire. To get there, though, you got to be willing to be consistent, study, and take this particular area of life serious, and you can get the benefits from it. Our goal was to get this particular platform out to 1,000 people this year with the help of people like Miss Williams that have really helped us get it out. But we haven't hit that 1,000 mark because we know if I can get a lot more of us to start trading, it'll change how we see the world and how we function, because we'll understand how the world really works, and it makes it easier for us to get what we want out of the world.
Yeah, money. Listen, you know the song "Money Makes the World Grow." Money makes. I'm like, y'all, it's just true. Like I literally, I think I put it in one of the videos coming up, but there's a Jewish synagogue here in Austin. Huge. Okay. The neighborhood used to be mostly Jewish. They was owning everything over there. Well, they started getting kind of pushed out because you got these California people coming, right? Don't care about that. And so they bought this corner lot. Now this is a commercial corner lot, big old commercial lot. They got it changed to a school. And I'm thinking, okay, they're gonna build a little school out there. Man, they got trailers out there. So, I mean, they're not playing with it. They're like, look, we're gonna put this school out here. It's Jewish, and you ain't gonna say nothing. What you gonna say? Yeah. Nothing. They can't say nothing because their argument is, well, we're waiting to build. This is what we have. We have the little mobile, you see the trailers you see at a work site.
Yeah.
And they painted them blue. And I'm like, they daring Austin to say something. Say something. Ain't gonna say nothing. You gotta have money to do that though.
Yeah.
They're not getting pushed out of their neighborhood. They gonna put that school right in the corner. They don't care how much it costs. You gotta be able to have money to make things move, make things happen. I told y'all that story multiple times how this girl, she got 8 brothers and sisters. She's the only one invested in all the real estate, which is already a problem.
Yeah.
And I did a video on that. You can't be the only winner in your family. And her sister's son got locked up, and the man said the bill was only $250, and the mom did not have $250. She had to call the sister who owns all these rental properties for $250. And when she called her, she thought, oh my God, it must be thousands of dollars. What is it? $250. $250? Yep. You got kids locked up out here for small petty time stuff for $250? We got to be able to have skills that allow us to have some extra income set aside for times like this. So again, I just always, just want y'all to be able to have skills at your disposal that you can make a decision.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you because in that particular case, if you watch any of these shows based around the county jail, the reason why most of those people in county jail because they can't pay their bail.
Yep.
They're not in county jail because they got this high profile charge and they couldn't get no action on their bail. They can't pay it and their family can't pay it. Yeah. And so that's one of the things that happen. And so then you sit in the county jail. And what I tell people all the time is that you don't ever want to go to court and not have made your bail because what you tell the court is that nobody really cares about you.
Honey, listen, the Sandra Bland thing to this day, I'm like, nobody in Chicago had any money?
Yeah, that's terrible.
$500?
Yeah, that's terrible.
Like over a whole week, we couldn't finance
no money out.
We couldn't get no money out.
Yeah, you couldn't get no money out. Couldn't get so amongst her whole family, everybody could come up with $100 to get that girl out of jail.
5 people to get $100.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. To get that girl out of jail. And like I said, you don't want to show up in court and you have not paid your bail because what you're telling the court is that I don't have a support system that cares about me. And that affects how they perceive you in that courtroom.
And how they're going to
deal with you.
They can't just give you a fine and send you home because you can't even pay to get yourself out.
Yeah, so that's the issue. Now, I'm not saying I 100% agree with the bail system, but you got to have the money to get out of jail. And a lot of these bails are not really outrageous. Like you got $1 million bond. A lot of these jails are not outrageous. These bails are not outrageous, but you just don't have the money in your family to pay it because a person has got to decide, well, if I pay this bail or I keep my lights on. So that's one of the things that I'm really passionate about is we got to really start looking at this income issue and stop hiding from it because we've been taught to hide from it and to figure out how to cope with it. And then when things happen in our life, we can't deal with it. Your car break down, you need $300 to fix it. You can't get that money out of your job. They won't give you the extra hours, so you just got to do without it. These are the kind of things that impact us. Do I see oil going to 100? Yeah, definitely. The Biden was supposed to speak to OPEC about producing more oil, but OPEC is going to tell them, which they did, because of inflation, we don't want to produce more oil. We want to get paid more for the oil that we produce. So we talk about groups. OPEC is a cartel. They got together with the Russians. They decide to limit the amount of oil that they produce. Biden also has limited the oil production inside the United States. I don't know why he's done that, but that's what he's decided to do. So what does that do? It moves up energy prices. So you're going to see not only oil go up, you're also going to see natural gas go up. It's not investment advice. The oil market can sink tomorrow because of some issue in the Middle East. But that was their goal, was to get OPEC to increase production, to bring the oil price down to help recover the United States. OPEC told them, no, we're not going to do that because of inflation. We got to get more money. Why? Because OPEC transacts everything in the U.S. dollar, the U.S. dollar being devalued. They need more money now. So they were able to come together with the Russians. So you got two groups of people decided to come together to essentially put the squeeze on the U.S. That's the way the game works.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, yeah. Thank you guys are super nice in the chat. Super nice. I just tell you like this. If I'm driving from Chicago to Texas, I need to have $500 at least minimum in my pocket. And so, $250, $500, come on, man. That just makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean,
but now you have enough cash in your own pocket.
But it's the thing, if my sister was locked up, I don't care if I had to go sell my car and get her out of jail. Yeah. There's no way in the world I'm going to let her sit in there because I'm not going to let her sit in there because I know what that means, how that looks. Yeah. So that's the thing is I just think it's very unfortunate. But when we've been conditioned to deal with lack of finances and to normalize it, and like I said, to worry about not making the money, but doing everything else except go make the money. If we can upskill ourselves, we got to make more money. And we either now into this new future we're going into because it's going to just be a lot more expensive to live inside America.
Listen, I am telling you, nowadays, I've drove from here often, further out than I normally drive, like an hour outside of. They are building out an hour outside of Austin, and it still ain't cheap. It's still
exactly.
I was like, baby, I don't know what y'all gonna do, but y'all gonna have to figure it out. Because the to me, the hack when I was in North Carolina was all my friends that got those cheap houses, 80K houses, or got houses in there early, and they were all renting rooms and doing whatever. Like now they got all the upside. They got 340,000 on upside from just appreciation.
Yep.
And even when I was at ECU, there was a family from New York that had 6 sons. They knew it was cheaper to send their sons to East Carolina, down there in North Carolina. They came down one weekend, found a house with 5 bedrooms. You know, one of them older houses in the South, got all these bedrooms. The old Victorian. It was in great shape. The owner that had it just didn't, family died. They want to keep it with it. That father bought that house, sent the first 2 oldest sons down there, and told them rent all the rooms out.
Okay.
And put their parents on the lease, put the other person's parent name on the lease because they're gonna make sure they pay. I'm just keep telling y'all, like, these families from other cities are gonna be like, that's how much it costs? No problem. I'm gonna come down here and do it. And the school system's gonna change more. I talked with somebody earlier today. Their child goes to school from 8 to noon at a private academy, and I said that's how it's gonna be. Wealthy families gonna have their kids out of school around noon because after 4 hours you ain't learning for so much, y'all.
Exactly.
And those parents don't want to be stuck in traffic.
Yeah, because one of the reasons why they made that school day so long because the parents was at work all day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right.
So look, I ain't gonna keep you here all night. But yeah, you guys, I just want y'all to understand, like, grab these opportunities while you can. Don't be calling us in January like, I need to learn how to trade the stock market. Where his course at? Last minute. Like, get in it now. If you want to be trading, having a business, doing whatever by January, February, April, you need to do it now. Diamond Dave, I was at a mastermind. It turned into a mastermind. We were just all talking. These people already had their August planned out for next year.
Definitely.
They had already had. They were like, "Oh, we do a conference in Florida." I said, "What part of Florida?" I said, "I might know a man down there. Might do a stock conference down there." So you know what I mean? It's like they already had August next year planned.
Yeah.
And this was a couple weekends ago.
Yep.
So when people tell me, "Well, I'm gonna wait till tax time," I'm gonna wait maybe till I get my bonus. Baby, y'all gotta figure it out better than this.
Yeah. You got to start planning ahead because you're 100% correct. Is that one thing I learned from people that made a lot of money is that they're planning their next year like 6 months ahead of time, sometimes almost a year out. Mm-hmm. And what a lot of people do is that they think they have more time than they have, and then they wait until something happens in their life, and then they want everything else to move at the speed at which they wanted to move, and it don't necessarily work that way. So if you get back to me late this year or maybe early next year, the prices are not going to be the same with a particular course because I consistently added more modules to it and adding more value to it. So I would encourage you to try to figure out what you want, how you can get it, and start moving in that particular direction and put yourself in the best position to be successful as opposed to playing like a waiting game.
The reactionary game instead of proactive. Yeah. Because I saw something, I don't know, some crypto, it was like 7 cents 3 weeks ago, and now it's $5.40. People are like, oh my God. I'm like, well, now it's too late.
Exactly.
By the time you heard about it, it's too late, baby. If you ain't been in the game, you can't just jump in tomorrow.
Yeah, I feel that way about Bitcoin. I never forget, I was going to get Chinese food in like 2012, and they was talking that Bitcoin was like $100, $200. And I should have bought like $10,000 worth at that time. I'm thinking like Bitcoin, $200, it's going to just fall. I knew about Bitcoin, but thinking like I did, I got all the time in the world to get on top of it. Next thing you know, you look up, it's $20,000 a coin. So that's the thing is that we got to kind of take advantage of opportunities.
This is your last question, and we're gonna wrap it up with this last one.
Okay. So what do I think about physical metals? Does he invest in them and knowing that electric cars are better than we invest in the mining stocks? Okay, so I don't do a lot of physical. That's really not my space. I know a guy named Jimmy Williams from By the Hood. He's the go-to guy for precious metals, so that's really not my space. I'm not against it, but it's not my space. And I will look at certain mining stocks, but it's not just electric cars. It has to be that they actually have a good business that I believe is valuable to validate my investment dollars. So I'm a momentum trader. I trade based on momentum and seasonality. I don't invest on momentum and seasonality. I invest on solid businesses that I know that can get me an adequate return, and that's what I invest on. I normally, as an investor long term, don't look for anything that I believe is emerging or hot. I'm not as much as a growth investor as I am a long-term guy. I look for momentum in emerging markets as a trader because I can take advantage of that volatility, get that money and sink that into longer-term, more stable investments. That's not investment advice. That's just my own personal attitude.
Okay. All right, guys, listen. You want to learn more? Let them know. Are you your Laws of Game Patreon? Where can they find that on your channel?
Yeah, it's Patreon. I think Diamond_Dave.
Mm-hmm.
It's on my YouTube. My YouTube is David Diamond Dave YouTube. Instagram is Diamond_Dave. So the YouTube got the links to the Patreon. Come through, get some of that game. And I guarantee you that if you apply what I'm telling you, the value of it is way more than what you're paying me monthly.
Okay. Listen, you guys, this is your girl from the Classic Climb Blog. We've got Diamond Dave in the building, giving us all the game you can give us. Listen, get ready. So, hey, get ready so you don't have to get ready, okay? I don't know what I'm saying, but you know what I'm talking about. All right, Diamond Dave, thank you for coming on. We'll see you soon.
All right, appreciate it.
All right, thanks.